So I wanted to do a real quick video of just a couple things that would stand out with the court files, with the court case file, and would also stand out in like an investigation of forgery and tampering with documents and whatnot. This is how you know that this is a Shasta County case file. Okay, do you see the copies of the bent metal pieces and then the two holes, right? This is a photocopy, okay, of a document that is in Shasta County. The reason why you could tell is these these metal pieces in this photocopy. The reason why I know that is because from both counties, Sacramento County as well as Shasta County, Sacramento County doesn't do their paperwork this way. They have an automated filing system, and basically the court clerk takes your original copies and she files them into the system, and she stamps them, and then she gives the case number and whatnot, and usually you pay, and they'll do another stamp with a payment stamp, basically time and date, and they file that into the system. Okay, so the fact that I have copies of this is basically showing that I have copies of the case file that's in Shasta County. Now, the reason why I have this paperwork is very interesting story. It is the fact that people that were in this county have been trying to help me get the information that I need in order to prosecute Judge Gibson and prosecute other police officers and whatnot, and the clerks that are involved in this case. I guess you could say in this abduction case, is the way I would put it. But anyways, so this document is actually a case file paper that is in Shasta County. Now, what's interesting about this is that it says October 24th, 2016, okay? And that's what it says right here. Is it says that I served paperwork to the Shasta County Superior Court on the 20th, okay? And that I also served the Shasta County Sheriff's Department. Now, this is what's really interesting about this is, one, I paid $40 to have this sergeant basically serve Kendra Snyder on October 20th, 2016, all this paperwork. The paperwork that I filed, and this is from Shasta County's words, says Declaration under Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Act completed, UCCJEA, income and expense declaration completed, and says petition for custody and child and support of minor children. Now, it wasn't a petition for custody. What this was actually the custody paperwork from Shasta County, and it was a summons for her to go to court on the 28th. Now, the paperwork has to be filed within a certain amount of days and give her enough time to go to court in Sacramento County. The fact that we had a court date on the 28th and that she had plenty of time to go to that court date and plenty of time to get service, and not only that, but Shasta County Superior Court had copies of all of this paperwork on the 20th. Okay, it doesn't matter if it was filed on the 24th. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is basically on this date, I gave them proof of service. I basically gave them all the paperwork that they needed to know that there was a custody case going on in Sacramento County. So it doesn't really matter about a restraining order and what date it was filed. It doesn't matter because there was already a ruling on this case in Sacramento County. That's the most important part, okay? Now, what's interesting is that Shasta County Superior Court should have the original documents for this. They should actually have the paper that has the original stamp with the ink with the ink of this stamp in this corner, okay? And they don't have that. What they have is photocopies. The photocopies are forged documents. Do you understand that part now? You know what I mean? Like, if you have an original copy, this is how Shasta County does it, okay? Shasta County takes your original copies and they put it into a case file, okay? So they shouldn't have photocopied dates and times. They should have the original stamps in their case file. And I have copies of this is because one of the court clerks actually gave me copies of this and gave me plenty of documents. Now my house has been broken into several times, and they steal these documents from me, and what they try to do is they try to change them, and they try to change the dates. This is another interesting filed document. This is on August 18th, 2021, and this is me asking for emergency custody ex parte orders of the kids, and I'm basically I basically filed this, and I gave this to Kendra and her lawyer, and I basically was asking for emergency custody. And this has, this is one of two documents, the backside as well. And what it says right here is recent erratic behavior and violation of court orders. Upon receiving information from Shasta Community Health and Kaiser Permanente Children's Medical Records, and I believe giving notice will intensify the situation as in the past. Now, this is dated on August, and this is signed by me, and this is also stamped by the court, okay? So regardless of if this was approved or not, the court still had copies of this and is aware of the situation. Do you understand? So it doesn't matter if they approve it. It doesn't matter if there's a proof of service, whatever. What kept happening, I guess I should clarify, is what keeps happening is I file this paperwork, and then there's always some excuse. Oh, he didn't file proof of service. Oh, Shelley Morgan didn't get the copies of it. Whatever the reason is, the fact is that the court is well aware and notified. Okay, that's the most important part. Not only that, but this clerk especially is notified and aware. Okay. The other thing is that these things keep becoming excuses for them to justify their actions and to justify taking the kids or taking custody of the kids, what have you. Okay. The fact is that I petitioned the court for ex parte custody, and that I was very clear with I didn't want it to intensify the situation as in the past. Okay, so that means that the court is aware of the situation. Okay, now this is what's really interesting, is that this is my copy. Okay, this is my copied paperwork from Shasta County Superior Court. They should have a copy of this paper in their file. Okay, regardless of what the reason is, and they don't. They don't have copies of this. And the reason why is because they're changing the records. They're changing the storyline, and they're saying, oh, no, we didn't know that, or no, he never filed that. And then that would be the reason why it would be very important to come to my house and get all the paperwork that I've filed in the past 6 years, and to basically clarify, hey, look, this is what an investigator needs to look at. This is what is being being tampered with, I guess, or forged. These are the documents that Shasta County Superior Court should have, and they don't. This is the reason why. Those are all things that are very important in, I guess, figuring out who would have jurisdiction or what would be the reason. Now, the fact that I had to file paperwork in Shasta County Superior Court is completely, it's nonsense. It's illegal. Okay, all the paperwork that was filed in Shasta County was illegal in the first place. So the fact that I have to file any paperwork in Shasta County, and then not only that they have control of what gets filed and what doesn't get filed is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It's basically allowed this judge to avoid accountability and responsibility for abduction. And it's very obvious. It's very clear. It's very obvious. It's not, you're not going to avoid investigation. You know what I mean? You're not going to avoid these things. You can't avoid it because it's apparent. It's obvious. Now, this is another piece of this is another piece of paperwork that I have this is back from October 12th, 2016. Now, if you look in this corner, okay, and you look at that, you can tell that the date has been tampered with. I mean, it's very obvious. This is this is supposed to be a copy of original paperwork that I filed, or that was filed in Shasta County. Okay, it was basically filed on Kendra's behalf, And they even got our name wrong. This is saying that One Safe Place, assisted by One Safe Place, and I would imagine that they're the ones that typed all this up, and they're saying that on the 12th she filed temporary restraining order. Okay, that never happened. That's ridiculous. All this paperwork has actually got filed like a year later, and they started changing everything because they realized that they were basically responsible for abduction. Okay, so what they did was, these are the little things that are big mistakes. But what they did is they said that they had a hearing on the 31st. Okay, now this is what's really interesting. On the 31st, they grant her full custody, and they grant this restraining order for 3 years, and they take the kids. And then I don't see the kids for over a year, okay? This is what's really interesting, is that on the 31st, they're saying that they had this court date. I wasn't there. They're saying that Kendra was, which is impossible because Kendra was actually hospitalized. Okay, she wasn't able to go there. So these are the things that they're lying about and they're covering up. Okay, now not only that, but this is one of 6 documents. So technically, there should be a copy of all this paperwork in Shasta County, and it should have the original stamp. It's very simple, right? They should have a copy of this paper and the original stamp, and they don't. What they have is a photocopy just like this. And the reason why I know that is, one, is because this date has been changed and it's very clear. So what they did is they took the original paperwork and they changed it all and they put their dates on there. And what the mistake was that they made was this court hearing date. Okay, the court hearing date is hilarious because in Sacramento County on the 28th, we had a court hearing and Kendra Snyder didn't show up, and I was awarded ex parte custody of the children. Basically, like, the children needed to be returned. And I also talked about in that court date that I was arrested with, serving paperwork in Shasta County. So these are all the things that need to be talked about with an investigator, or with a detective or with federal agents, and they need to be laid out in front, like with all the documents that I have, as well as the documentation that they have, and it needs to be compared, right? You need to say, okay, Shasta County, then show us this file, and show us this paperwork right here, and show us the original stamp, right? And if they can't do that, then they are responsible for abduction. It's that simple. It's not only that simple, but it's totally obvious. Okay, because they don't have the original copy. What they have is a photocopy that they tampered with or altered. And then that would mean that this deputy clerk, the other clerks that are involved, the judges that are involved, they're all aware of the situation. They all are aware of what they did wrong and what happened. They're all aware that the kids were abducted from Sacramento County and that they have been covering it up and hiding it. So when you get to 2 or 3 years later, or 4 or 5 years later, and I'm sitting here filing emergency custody orders, and I'm saying, look, dude, like, please, we need a review of this case. We need administrative review. I filed for administrative review in Shasta County like 6 times, basically begging them to look at all these things, and they don't do it. Now, why wouldn't they do that? Well, I made a video before, and I said the same exact thing. I provided evidence of forgery and documentation of forged signatures, and Shasta County destroyed records. Why would they destroy the records? Because they know that they are responsible for abduction. Now, when I say I'm waiting for my kids to return, I literally mean is I'm just waiting for them to drop off the kids. I'm waiting for federal agents to basically arrest these judges for abduction, arrest the people that are responsible for abduction, and I'm waiting for my kids. I'm not going to file anything else. I'm not going to file a complaint with the Judicial Council. I'm not going to beg for me, for the court to allow me to talk to the kids when they're the ones that are responsible for altering records and changing these documents. And not only that, but have been doing that for the past 6 years. It's ridiculous. And that's what I mean, is that this has nothing to do with the state. This has nothing to do with the government. This is judges that are responsible for human trafficking, kidnapping, and it's called legal human trafficking. It's basically changing records and forging documents in order to control children and control the narrative and control the outcome of the case. And that is a huge impact on our society and our government. It's a huge impact because the government feels like they need to cover things up, I guess, or to allow this to happen because it is a judge. It's a federal judge. It's a Superior Court judge. But that's the opposite. That the fact is that these people need to be held accountable for their actions and put in jail. And then the government would actually be helping our culture or helping citizens. You know, the fact that they're allowing this to happen is highly illegal. You know, and it's not the government allowing this to happen. Is what it is that everybody's really confused with jurisdiction. They're confused with the paperwork. They're confused with what I'm saying and the meaning, as well as what Shasta County's saying. Now you have a dad that basically hasn't seen his kids for over a year, and I've been charged with a crime, which was ridiculous. You know, there was no evidence in that crime. But not only that, then that shows on paperwork. Okay, that's what it looks like to everybody else, I guess you could say. And then the way that you get around that is that you start to hold these other people accountable for their actions and what they did wrong. You know, and the fact that this guy's a judge or, you know, a clerk, county clerk, then they get some, I guess, advantage, I guess you could say, would be a way to put it, like some type of advantage, and they get to lie, and they basically get to lie and cover it up. The fact that Shasta County still does this filing system the old way, this is like from the 60s, dude. This is like from, you know, Reagan time or Nixon time, dude. This is the way that they filed paperwork a long time ago, and it's actually, it's not we don't use this system anymore. The reason why is because the how do I put it, like the way that it can basically be tampered with and altered. Okay, that's why we use an automated scanning system in Sacramento County. That's why we have computers using the technology that we have available now, is because this can be tampered with from anybody. And that's exactly what happened. Is I got these files from somebody that was trying to help me out, and the judge basically had been monitoring my phone, realized what I was doing, so he went through and changed all the records. Bam, 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 changed all the records. And I'll tell you right now that I 100% bet you, guarantee you, or bet you $1 million that is exactly why Shasta County has not finished that new court house, is because they're afraid of starting to download these files and people to realize, that they've been changing these records.